So this painting is done on just a regular economy canvas. The process that we went through to get to this point is there's 3 coats of gesso on the canvas. I'll make my own gesso, so if you're interested in how I'm doing that, you can find that video on the channel to how to make your own. Anyway, 3 coats of gesso, white gesso. Then we covered the entire canvas with a mixture of burnt umber and 50% burnt umber and 50% linseed oil. Then we wiped that back using a paper towel, and oh, I skipped a step, so let me back up. We put the sketch on here. Then we fixed it using a fix-it. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can use a cheap hairspray. That'll work too. But basically, it's just to hold the pencil and charcoal in place as we put the burnt umber on. So then we put the burnt umber on with the 50% linseed oil and 50% burnt umber. Wiped it all down with a paper towel to create the highlights and the shadows. Then we used burnt umber again with a brush to paint in all of these areas. Most of the work was done with a filbert. But anyway, so now what we're going to do, we're going to oil this girl down, and from there we're going to start painting the sky in. Now as we oil this down with linseed oil, the purpose of doing that is allow us to blend colors as we go. Because if we were doing it on dry, it would be pretty aggravating probably. But anyway, we're gonna do some stuff with this. So let's move forward here. I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about what my color scheme, what I want my color scheme to be, but we can kind of work that out as we go, I reckon. So let's start off with some cerulean blue. Now, I do get questions now and then from people about what brand of paint do I use, and I use what's on sale. So I have a lot of Bob Ross paint, although since they've come out of Hobby Lobby, I haven't bought a lot of Bob Ross paint. I don't know what the deal is. You know, they were supposed to be back, according to them, sometime this year, but I haven't seen that happen. So, but I have a lot of Bob Ross paint because when they started to leave Hobby Lobby, I bought everything they had. So I also use Gamblin 1980. I like that. It's a nice paint. I also use some Grumbacher Pretest, and I use some Winton paint and some Winton and Newton paint. So if I come across some others, I'm sure there are other brands that I've used here too, but you know, if I come across them while I'm painting, I'll tell you what they are. I also used just some straight Gamblin paint, not the 1980, just regular Gamblin. Okay, so let's start off and let's oil this girl down. So over here, I've got some linseed oil, and I think I will use, I'll just use a fan brush to put this on. Now, we're going to put this on, and then we're going to wipe it back, because I don't want too much of this on here. I want to get a nice even coat, but I also want that coat to be nice and thin, because if there's too much of that on here, it's going to make the canvas really slick. And on my paint, really what would happen is the paint would just slide down the canvas. And that would be horrible. It would just mess up the whole thing. So let's don't do that. Today I'm using odorless paint thinner to clean my brushes. Sometimes I use baby oil, but today I'm using odorless paint thinner. Other things you might see me use today, I'll be using some paper towels and maybe I'll probably use some Q-tips somewhere along the line to wipe some paint back in different areas. And I'm probably using some baby wipes. So, alright, I'm just going to take this paper towel. I want to be careful not to take any of that odorless paint thinner up to the canvas. Lord have mercy, that would be... Odorless paint thinner and linseed oil do not get along. Liquid clear. Medium. I sort of make my own version of that. So there's also a video on my channel about that. So I'd like to see that. Just go take a look. Okay, now let's start putting some paint in here. Let's start off. I put some blue on the canvas, but I'm not sure how much of it I'm going to use. We'll see. Let's use some. Excuse me. Use a couple of different. Excuse me. Hues of yellow. Ooh, my allergies are acting up. All right. So we're going to start off with a filbert. And we'll just start off by giving the impression, there's some morning light maybe coming through right between these houses. Now, I've not painted these kind of cottages before. If you go through my videos, you'll find that I don't paint too many things. I don't paint things more than once. I don't rehearse my paintings. Maybe if I did, I would be as good as Bob Ross. But I haven't done 30,000 paintings like Bob Ross either. But I have done close to 500, so it gives me a little bit of a kickstart. Let me just apply some of this color here and there. There and here. I kind of like that. It's all right. I'm being kind of free with this brush. It's okay if we get some on the trees. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Some of that will wipe back, and some of it we'll do something different with it. But just hang on till we get to that part. All right. Good enough. Okay, I'm just kind of blending this out a little bit with the filbert. Now, if you want to, you can take a fan brush or something like that and kind of, if you feel better blending it that way, just do it that way. Do what you like to do. Okay, so let's take and put a little bit of alizarin crimson, I think. I just want a little bit. I don't want a lot of alizarin crimson in this painting. I'm not even sure when I'm done it's going to show. So by the time I put the trees in, this reddish part of the sky might already be gone. So I'm going to put this in up here all the way up at the top. You'll see a little bit of. Now, I didn't clean the brush, in case you're wondering. I just left the yellow in there. You can still see it on the brush. So we're kind of making a mixture of alizarin crimson and this yellow that we had on there. And I think get over into this on these corners. We'll make it a little bit more alizarin than yellow. I don't need a lot of that in there. I just need some. So we're kind of creating that really, really early morning dawn. The sun's still working its way up the sky there. Whether or not these people are awake, I don't know. I guess we'll find out as we go. All right. Now, I'm going to clean that brush off. I'm just going to wipe the paint thinner out of it. And I'm going to use it again. I just want to. And be sure when you wipe it out, if you continue to use the same brush, that you get that paint thinner out of there. If you don't, if you take it up to the canvas, it's going to give you a heartache. Big time heartache. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, now we're going to bring in some more of this yellow, but we're going to blend it right on the edges of this alizarin to make kind of an orange color. We might even mix a little alizarin with this as we go. We'll see here in a second. I want to see how it blends out first, and then we'll kind of I'm still a little alizarin from up there. I'm not trying to cover up all this underpainting. I did all this underpainting work, and I want that to show. That's the reason that I did it, right? So I'm not gonna give that up. Maybe bring a little bit of alizarin right in. Maybe like right in here. Oop, I didn't get any. Try it again. All right, there we go. Yeah, it looks okay. And really, we're just kind of slowly working our way into, a little bit of a vignette type of a scene. Right, we're just pushing the paint around a little bit. Let's push it some more right in here. Push a little bit more paint in. These you can tell these colors are all transparent because you can see the painting under them. Even this yellow. This is not cad yellow. This is where is this exactly? Bismuth yellow by Kronbacher. I bought some of that when it was on sale, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I was like, "Oh, I like that color yellow. It's really cool." All right, a little more yellow here. I'm going to wind up stealing some of that here and there. Just kind of put it on the canvas to give it a look. All right. Okay, a little bit more. A little bit more right here. I know it looks a little messy right now, but don't worry. We're going to straighten all that out. Let's just get the paint down on this. Get some color on there. All right. Let's clean the brush. All right. I don't think I'm going to work on this foreground at all until I get a lot of other things done, but let's put that away. Let's get out. I kind of like to blend with a 1-inch brush, so let me get one out here. I like 1-inch brushes. I learned to paint with them when I first started. I'm just kind of using like a circular stroke here to move this around. We're not worried too much about getting it on the background. On the foreground objects because we'll brush all that off. We'll brush all that out. Okay, now we're going to blend this alizarin crimson away into this yellow. But we're going to leave some of it because we want it to be very much a vignette type. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, the next step, now you don't have to do this now, but I'm going to do it now. So you decide how you want to do it in your work. Here's how I'm going to do it in mine, and why I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring the forefront objects back out to the front. And the reason that I want to do that is because I suffer from ADD. So I don't want to start painting on some other part of it and go, oh, I forgot to do that part. So to do that, I'm just going to use Q-tips. Just regular old plain of the mill, cheapest you can buy Q-tips. And we're just going to run it down these trees and some of this house and stuff. And you'll notice that as we do that these objects that were look like they were in a mist a little bit, sort of spring back out into the front of the picture because they're darker. Okay. One Q-tip down. I'm going to bring this house. I'm just going to go right along the edge of this house. We're going to bring that back out. Now, I'm hoping in this video you're going to be able to see this house really well because I'm going to try to show you some good bit of detail work on that house. So you may see some editing spots here and there. I'm still getting all this video editing down pat, so If you notice them being a little glitchy, leave me a note in the comments. I'll try to do better next time. All right, let's get this. I'm hoping pretty soon to be able to go to 2 cameras. And when I do, maybe we can give you the whole time we can see the palette as well. I don't think the palette's quite as... My palette's usually pretty messy because I have very little palette discipline, so I puddle paint a lot, which means I paint from the same spot on my palette most of the time. So, you know, just it's not. I don't know if it's all that interesting. Yeah, you guys tell me when we get to when we actually get to the 2 cameras. All right, what do I got left? That one's used up too. All right, so let's just do a little bit more off of this. Okay, we're not going to get too carried away with that, and we're wiping fairly gently because we don't want to bring. We don't want to take off all the liquid clear, right, that we have on there. So just do a little bit with this house. Okay, so the sky is in the background, as far as back as it can probably go. Let's pick up some titanium white. And I'm going to use, this is a, you won't see me use these very often. This is a synthetic filbert. It's a 1.5 inch, my Artscape. I don't use these all too much, but I'm going to use it right now. And we're just going to use it to add a little bit more to the sky by adding some clouds. Back up in here. Now some people kind of struggle with clouds. I've never really struggled with them much. But if you do, just realize that it's almost impossible to make an incorrect cloud shape. I mean, don't let somebody tell you that, oh, that cloud's not shaped right, because yeah, it doesn't matter. Go look up in the sky and show me where there's a predefined cloud shape. All right, now let me try this a little bit. Yeah, I just want to put like some pinkish ones up here in the trees. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, now this brush I am going to clean with baby oil, because it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't think that this brush is synthetic. It's just that this brand doesn't hold up well against odorless paint thinner. If you watched my last video, you saw me when I was painting this. You saw me use those brushes, and the first time I put my flat into odorless paint thinner, half the bristles were gone. So, yeah. So they will not be getting my recommendation, but that's okay. I still like them. I got them for much of a song. So just close this back up here. All right, and we're done with that. Now we're going to blend that. As soon as we finish cleaning this brush up. All right. I'll go to a fan brush this time. I'm just going to kind of, I don't want those clouds to be too far into the foreground, just back there in the background. Just floating along, enjoying the day. There we go. I'm just wiping them back off those trees a little bit. I can do that with a brush, and so I will. So I will. You do it however you like to do it. Luckily, we had a toilet paper crisis and not a paper towel crisis. Good Lord. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have been able to paint. That would have been terrible. All right. Got a little bit of wiping back I want to do in a couple spots. One of them right here. Maybe one right there a little bit. I'm going to paint over that so it doesn't really make much of a difference. But like again, I'm just trying to keep it straightened out. Okay. Like this branch, I'm not going to bother to try to do that. I could clean all that out with a brush. Just put a little bit of linseed oil on it and hit it with a flat, and it will come right out. But I don't really need to do that. Okay, this house back here is first. This house is going to have a thatch roof, and so I think that house should also have a thatch roof. However, this house is farther back than this house, so this house is going to be a little lighter than this house as we paint it. So let's mix a little paint, shall we? All right, let's set that Q-tip aside. Okay, so let's go with some. Let's start off with some yellow ochre. I wonder what I thought I was going to use blue for. I guess I could use it on the houses if I wanted to. All right, so we're going to get some I think I'll use a little bit of sienna too. So I've got some yellow ochre and some sienna, and then we'll use, I got on the palette, I've got some cad yellow and that other yellow that I was telling you about earlier. So let's start off with the filbert. I think the filbert will be good for this. And we'll start off with the darkest color first, which is sienna. I probably should use a flat. I have a feeling, although I don't know, that kind of looks okay. Now, I could have used burnt umber back here on this part. I could have, but that would probably clash with these trees that I underpainted, so I don't really want to. Well, we're going to do something different with those trees in a little while. All right. I think as long as we've got that here, let's go ahead and put some up on this roof line. Now, if you have trouble painting a straight line in a long pull like I did down that roof, I recommend that you try to just do it a little faster, and that might help you. It's helped me. I didn't get it perfectly straight, but I got it pretty straight. Now, right here in this area, we've got a roof line and a chimney. There's a red chimney right there. Or there's a brick chimney, that's what I meant to say. There's a brick chimney. Brick and red is the same thing, right? No. I guess not. All right. Now again, I'm kind of painting over that tree branch because if I tried to not paint over the tree branch, I might end up getting a little bit of a halo around that tree. And I definitely do not want that. And what I mean by that is, like say around these doors. Let's say if these doors were red, the doors would be dark red, and then around them would be a little bit of a lighter area where I wiped paint back. That might not look so good, so don't do that. Don't do that. All right. This will be a little tricky right in there because there's some roof line and some trees that are kind of the same color, but this is not the end color for the roof. So again, this is sienna, burnt sienna. Okay. Now I'm just gonna wipe this brush. Where's my shop towel? Usually I have a shop towel right here. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that burnt sienna in there, and I'm gonna pick up some cad yellow. No, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Before we use cad yellow, I might use cad yellow for the highlight. Gosh darn it, I got that towel right in the middle of everything. Of course. All right, so what we're going to do here, basically, and this kind of goes for all of these underpainted paintings that you watch me do. I'll clean up a little bit. I'm going to make a little bit of a mess here, guys. You could apply this color, and you could leave that color, but the end result of that is going to be that the painting looks very flat and two-dimensional. I mean, it may look okay, but it's not going to be what you want it to be. Trust me when I say this. So let's take, and now that we've sort of cleaned up our mess, so let's take some yellow ochre, and let's apply a little bit of that back here, and some of it up here. We'll just kind of intermix this with that sienna. And all we're really trying to do here is create a little bit of contrast. And hopefully you'll be able to see this coming. Is changing as it goes. And we don't want to cover it all up because then we just have another solid color, right? So now, interestingly enough, this is the part, now that I'm doing it, I feel very comfortable doing it. But as I was thinking about painting it today, I was wondering if it was going to be what I was going to do about this part. So I'm glad it kind of came together easily. And you might say, but it's not together. Well, not yet, but it will be in a minute. We're working on it. We're working on it. All right, now let's try. So we're going back to this yellow now. And we're just adding some highlights in here. Now hopefully you can see all those different layers in there, and I think I'll actually add one more layer of highlight maybe to this. Make it down, get a little farther down. Okay. Now, realize I've got multi-layers of paint on there, so we're kind of piling paint on top of paint, and that's okay. Thin over thick. Thin paint will stick to a thick paint. Okay, now let's just put some final highlights in here. Okay, I'm kind of okay with that. Now we're gonna blend this a little bit, so don't go away. Pen brush. Feather light, feather light, feather light. And again, we'll bring those trees back forward. We're just barely wiping out the brush strokes. All right. Now I did forget 2 spots. So one thing, I forgot to finish this guy back here. Okay, that's good. And I missed a spot right here. All right. If you got any questions, leave me a comment down there, and I'll be glad to answer them. Okay. So back to this. It's cleaning up that tree. Again, probably won't be the last time, but we're going to do it anyway. You can wait and do it all at one time, but yeah, it just don't work for me. But it could work for you, so you do it how you like. All right, now we still got to paint that house itself back there. All right, so let's think about this. I think I will go with, since I have blue on the palette, and I want to use that blue for some stuff, let's take a little bit of this blue and some white. I don't want to put white on, straight white on there. I think that would look hideous. So let's just kind of... So we're kind of holding the brush at an angle to match the roof and then pulling it straight across like this. Just barely laying the paint on there. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this straight across that window. I'm sorry, that's not a window. That's a chimney. I keep thinking the thing's a window, but it's certainly not. It never has been. Okay, I have to switch the other hand. To answer your question, in case anybody wants to know, yes, I'm left-handed, but I paint with both hands most of the time. I just do. All right, now we're going to put the roof lines. We're not going to bother with the chimney right now until we get the rest of this put together. So let's do that first. All right, I'm going to use a script liner, I guess. Let's do that. All right, so we're going to get a script liner. A little bit of this brown, this sienna color, and put these lines back in. And they don't have to be as dark. They don't have to be. We'll make them as dark as you want, but whatever suits you. Really, I'm just kind of creating a little bit of shadow there for that house in the distance. I might like them a little bit darker than that, maybe. I don't know. Let's put a couple more down and see. Okay. I'm just going to grab this little angle brush, I think. Just use this angle brush and just blend this slightly. Okay, that's good. All right. I'm just cutting the edge of this house back in. Now we're going to work on that chimney because it's in the way. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to work on this part of the house. Back here. This front house over there. And I guess I'll have to make up my mind about what color I want to use. But first let's clean up the chimney. So this chimney is a little brick chimney. That Q-tip shot. Let's get another one. It's sitting at an angle. This was one of the hardest things for me to draw. I must have had to draw it 4 or 5 times to get it right. So hopefully I'll get it right as I paint it, so I don't have to repaint it. And honestly, I don't know that if you paint this, you might leave the chimney off. Or maybe when you are painting it, you just paint over it and rather than clean it back off. All right, so let's take some red. I'm thinking. I don't want these bricks to come out pink, right? But I do want to use different colors. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and put this on first. We're going to use the shadows that are created by the underpainting. We'll lay those lines in first. And I'm just using an angle brush here. You use whatever you like. Alright, and let's just kind of lay this color in. Hopefully I'll remember where the heck that goes. Oh yeah, I can still see it. Good thing about using transparent paint. Okay, now I probably won't leave that top part red either. So, alright, I'm going to take that, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre to that, I think. Let's try that. Let's see what that does. Yeah, it might be okay. Alright, so let's see. Which side's the shadows? Okay, the shadows are on this side. So. And we'll, like I say, we'll go back and put the lines in a second. Alright, and now to lighten this some more, I'll just add some yellow to that, I think. I was going to get some cat orange, but I think I'll just keep the same color. And I'll just add some cat orange. I mean some cat yellow to that. And let's see how that looks. Let's try it, make it a little bit lighter. Let's try it. Yeah, okay. Alright, that cuts. So, you can stay on this brush, back to the alizarin crimson, but I'm going to add a touch of blue to that to make these lines in between the bricks. Now you can make the bricks lighter if you want. I mean the mortar, you can make it lighter if you want. It's up to you. It's up to you. Here in my 5th year of painting, I've slowly started adding more detailed kind of subjects to my painting. So, all right, so let's clean that brush. Now I gotta decide on a color for this house, and I think I just want to stick with a kind of a yellow. Let's use some of let's try this. Let me look at this. This is Naples yellow. This paint's really thick. I squeeze a little bit out. See if I need to get some more in a little bit. So I'm going to kind of stick to this yellow a little bit. I want to see how this looks. And let's start off with, again, with some brown. And actually for the shadowed side, this might be exactly the color I was looking for. Right here. Yeah, I think that's going to work out just fine. You'll pardon me as I'm just painting this in over here. This is sort of a brownish yellow, if there is such a thing, I guess. But I'm going to clean this up a little bit more in a little bit. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. I've got to go back over there and do this window too. I'll add the shadows and stuff back in. So basically we're just applying that with the main color. We can kind of... Did I miss any spots? There's a spot. There's a spot right there. All right. Okay. I'm going to clean this brush just because, not because of a color change or anything like that, but just because it got some clumpy paint on it. I told you that paint was really thick and it really got some clumps on it. And we're going to add some highlight here. And then we're going to add some shadow. So let's do that. What is that little thing sticking out there? Okay, that's a door frame. I'm going to add some blue to this brown to darken it. I want it to be a little darker. Now it's showing up. There we go. We'll add some brown back to that in a minute. That'll neutralize that color a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Let's touch up the parts we missed. We missed this part. Okay, now let's add some highlight to some areas. We'll start to highlight on this side of the house and work our way to the right without reloading. Let those colors kind of blend. Now I think on this side, I'm going to add a little bit of brown to this, just to create more of a shadowed side. Okay, and maybe back in here a little bit, some of that brown. I don't want it too dark, but we get some boards and stuff in here. Okay. All right, let's get that. Okay, let's start working out this house. So let's get, I think we're going to move off of the sienna because I want this to go even darker still on the trim work. So let's go with some burnt sienna, and we'll make 3 tones of this. So we're going to lighten it. So we'll lighten it rather than, if you're going to lighten brown, what would you want to light it with? And so think about that. You could add white, you could, but I think rather than do that, let's add some of this yellow that we've been using, and see how that works. looks pretty good. Yeah, so let's see. Let's use some of that in here. So this is burnt sienna. Now, in yellow. Now in this area right here, we've got a staircase going up. And so that means that all of this area here is going to be in that color. Because we're kind of up in the attic, right? Oh, that's stressed out really nice. That's really working good. All right. Okay. Now that'll look lighter in a second, but I've kind of moved away a little bit from doing back to forward, so let's go back to that now. And let's do that by starting to clean it up a little bit. All right. So again with the Q-tip. I'll take this. I think I'll take this little bit of blue off right here. I didn't like that. I'll just go ahead and take it off all over there. All right. And I don't really need to clean these boards because I'm going to paint them in nice and dark. So let's go that way. Let's do it. I would like to do that with a flat, if I can find the flat that I want. Oh, here it is. Where'd it go? Here it is. All right. I like this. This is a Princeton, what is it, number 2? Yeah, Princeton number 2 flat. I really like this brush a lot. All right. I'll start working on this. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try something. Let's see how this works. Turn this. If you watch me do the underpainting, you saw me turn this thing a lot. It just helps me get the stroke down better. Alright, so the way I'm pulling this brush, I have blue on one side of it. Well, let's see. I don't want to confuse you by saying this. If you're looking at the brush this way, flat, the right-hand side of the brush has got blue on it. The left-hand side of the brush has brown. So when I say one side is one color, one side is the other, I don't mean this side is one color and this side is a different color. So it's laying down the blue first, and then it's bringing the brown over the top of that blue just to give it a little bit of a darker hue. Okay, that looked out pretty good. I knew that, for me, the challenge to this painting was going to be all this detail. And whether I could keep my mental handicap from interfering with getting it done. So I'm just lifting some of this paint on these boards because I think it'll make it a lot easier to get the paint laid down. All right, let's carry on. Now, I'm not trying to lay down a solid color on these boards because they wouldn't look like that in real life. Also, I have to decide which board is on top, and in this case it's the horizontal board that's on top. So we're going to add a little bit of extra right there. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, that's looking okay. All right, let's finish up this last bit of this part anyway. Okay, so this is working out pretty good here. So get a little bit of a tree line right here, so I'm just going to paint it in right now. And we'll come back to address that in a minute. All right, now let's work on this window up here. And it's going to require me to go sideways again. As if it wasn't bad enough that there was going to be a lot of detail in this painting. I added a little bit more to it than I intended. Now again, if you want your lines to be perfectly straight, you can just stop and tape each line off, and that'll work. Let it dry, and then paint around that tape. Nothing wrong with doing it that way, especially when you're learning. It is an awful lot of taping though, so you have to trade one for the other. Me, I prefer to just try to learn how to paint as straight as I can. I don't try to make my paintings perfectly straight because it's not a photograph, it's a painting. If somebody wanted it perfect, they should probably just take a picture. So I don't really worry about that too much. Now the only thing about this flat you got to be careful with is that sometimes it really builds up paint in it. So just be careful. All right. You'll see a lot more detail come onto this thing as we start script lining these tree branches and stuff in. We're not going to do that just yet. All right. Let's get some more detail laid in here. Well, here's a couple more boards to finish. Now, as we move back up in here, we're going to add a little bit more blue to darken this up because I want this to be dark over here. It's in the dark. Well, it's not in the dark. It's not in the dark, but it is darker, closer over here to these trees than it is, anywhere else. Just getting paint out of the brush. A little too much paint in the brush. I want my edge to be almost completely flat as I pull these script lines in. If you're not used to script lining with a flat, It's time worth spending. Just saying, just in case you wonder. All right, I didn't get that one laid in though. Right as I pretended like I had that taken care of. If you're going to talk about script lining with a flat, don't, because then you're going to mess up. All right, so let's turn this sideways again. All right, here we go. Okay, we're going to pull this door in. There's a door line right here. Pick up a little bit of blue and some burnt umber. Now I'm going to have to do something you don't see me do very often, but I'm going to do it. Give me a minute to get over here. Work my way over. Okay. We got a shadow. A little shadow, but a shadow, and none the same. Right there in the top of that door, and right there on the bottom of that door, and sort of in the corner. And I've already mixed blue and brown and pulled that dark color in sharply. So I'm going to actually use the same color, but I'm going to add some black. Now, I don't use black a lot because it really, really kills color. All right, so there we go. That'll make that stand out a little better. And maybe we'll put some of that right here as well. All right, there we go. All right, now we're going to clean that out of the brush, though. I don't want that back. I don't want to carry that back into the brush. Okay, back to the burnt umber. And let's paint this. Let's paint. Almost there, guys, for that part anyway. Okay, a little bit more side work, and then we can work on the windows a little bit here. We're working our way over from the tree this way. This part here's a little bit tricky, just because of all the angles. And we've got quite a bit of paint down on the canvas now, so keeping the value straight is going to be a little tricky, but we'll manage it. Okay. I'm not too worried. I'm going to paint this line right here, but I'm not really too worried about this line because I'm going to push some grass and stuff up in there, but I want to paint some shadow in there just to remind me to do it. All right. Okay. Now, the windows, when I painted these windows, I decided not to paint them with a script liner. So, I'm thinking about how I want to do these. I think I'm going to do them. This is really kind of a strange thing I've never tried before, so let's try it. And then I think what I'm going to do is painting these two trees before we move this, although I really don't want to paint that tree because I don't know, we'll figure it out. I definitely want to paint this tree over here, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's put this away for a minute. I'm gonna switch to a script liner. I'm gonna go, I need some bismuth yellow. And I'm just gonna tap in these windows. So I ran out of paint. No, I didn't sort of run out of paint. I ran out of paint. All right, let's get a little bit more. Let's lay in this window. And we'll start adding the frame. All right, we'll clean that off. I think I might have enough of this white left to do these windowsills, or these window frames. Okay. Now, let's do a little bit of this. Probably need a little more paint than that. Just adding these little window boxes to this. And then this one needs some lightning, right? It doesn't need lightning, it needs lightening. Here we go. All right. And then just sort of use some red. And let's just use this, just mix up a little bit of green here. Good. Let's kind of run up a couple little branch things here. Okay. And just pop some little flowers in there. Okay, let's go to the doors. Let's go back to my flat. We're gonna go, here it is. Oh, you know what? We gotta do something with this window over here too. I forgot about to do it. All right, let's do that first. All right, let's go to the window flat. Let's just paint the frames back in. I'm still not mixing any medium with this. It's still still kind of just paint on paint. So we're doing pretty good so far. All right, and I think maybe we'll just, let's add a little bit of framing over here, a little bit more frame. We're just kind of sticking to the same frame we had. We're just adding a little more definition. There we go. All right. Doors. Brown doors are boring, so let's do something better. Let's do something with a flat. Let's do something with some alizarin crimson. And then let's darken it just a little bit. That looks pretty good. And let's take a little bit of that and a little bit of bright red. Let's just kind of bring that together. And then let's use this bright red and let's kind of rough this surface up so the door looks a little, woodeny. All right. Clean the brush. Back to the burnt umber. Put those two dark braces in. Like that. That's the tree. That's part of the tree over there, so I'm not too worried about that. All right, now I got to go back to the script liner and put in the hinges. All right. So let's just kind of this is black, in case you're wondering. In case I don't think I said. Just applying this color where I got it on the brush. Okay. All right. Let's get that house done. Okay, at this point, I think I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let this dry. It'll be dry enough by tomorrow. Although, I see a couple spots. Hang on. There's a couple spots I missed. I missed this part right here. That's okay. And then I need that more brownish color back in here. There we go. That's okay. I want that to be a little darker than that part back there. So now I don't want to get started on this other building. But actually, I guess, before I finish, let's do let's do these. Let's just go ahead and do these. These will be easy. We don't have to do anything here. We're just leaving the shadows that we have. Really all we're doing is just adding the red to the bricks. Now that color looks a little thin. I'm just going to add some more. And there we go. And then let's add a little bit of a little bit of this, a little bit darker. Just insinuate some stuff right there. And then like that. All right. Now we can pause. All right. So for you guys, this really won't change. It's going to all be edited together by the time I get done. But I hope you're enjoying it so far. Let's go to part 2.